Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to MOS Live. Right now, we're going to take a trip with our virtual planetarium around the sky tonight, and thank you so much for joining us. If you are joining us from Facebook or YouTube, we are so sorry, but we can't actually check your questions or comments at this time. Next time, feel free to check ahead, register in advance, and join us on Zoom, where you can type your questions out to us in that little Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. And we'll try and get as many of those to our educator as possible. If you're looking for closed captions on Zoom, that's going to be the little button at the bottom that says CC. So at this point, I'd like to welcome our Museum of Science educator to turn on their camera and introduce themselves.
Thank you, Katie. Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl, and my pronouns are he and him. Welcome, fellow stargazers, for a tour of the nighttime sky, as you'll be able to see it for the next few nights. And what's nice is that we're still in the winter season, and we have lots of winter constellations, and that means bright stars, which is really cool. And I'm going to share some of those bright stars with you and some things that you can find in the nighttime sky on your very own on the next clear night. You may have to throw on a coat or something, but sometimes you have to do that if you want to take a look at the sky. So we're going to get right to it. I'm going to switch to a program called Stellarium, which is the program that we use to show you the nighttime sky. And we're kind of looking toward the south, and it's about 8 p.m. in the evening right now. And this is kind of the view that you would have. So right now, what I want to do is I want to start pointing out the most obvious thing. And the most obvious thing, you might be looking around the sky and you'll see a red object with a name next to it. And that red object is Mars. So Mars is still visible in the nighttime sky. You can see it over there in the southwest. And let's see if I can get my face out of the way so you can actually see it. There we go. And we're going to move things down a bit and around so that you can see it even better. So Mars is located right here. And it's probably not the only thing that looks red in the sky, but it's the reddest right now. We'll talk about those other red things a little bit later on. But Mars is kind of cool because it is in the news right now. Let's see if we can take a little. Let's see if we can actually zoom in on Mars. Just kind of get close in there. So let's do that. Mars. So it's called the red planet because it is indeed red. The reason that it's red is because, well, basically it has a sandy surface, and the sandy surface has a lot of iron in it, and that iron is affected by oxygen. And if any of you have left your bike outside or a bike outside on Earth and you leave it out there for a long time, you see that it starts to turn red and gets rusty. Essentially the same thing with Mars. So this is Mars, the red planet. Now it also has a few volcanoes on it. You can't see it in this view right now. There's also a giant canyon on it. And it has a few other cool things on it. And let's see, will this allow me to? Nope, it will not allow me to. Okay, let's go back home right now. It will not allow me to move around Mars. So let's pull back
It does feel
again.
like we've disappeared into the depths of space at this point.
There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put Mars back into the sky. Just want to show you a close-up view of it. We'll put Mars back into the sky where it should be. Here we go. And since there is a lot of news on Mars right now, I'd just like to stop here and ask if anyone has any questions about Mars before we move on. So, Katie, any questions?
Okay, let's see. We have some young guests who are mentioning other things in the sky they see, such as Orion's belt.
Very good. We're going to get to that.
We don't have any questions about Mars yet. I have a question about the mission, which is, why is it so special? Why do we keep talking about this new mission to Mars?
Okay, so if you haven't heard, we sent another rover to Mars. It's called Perseverance, and it's basically the 5th rover that we have up there. But this one has a little bit more technology to it, so it's really exciting. It was able to land on Mars, and if no one has seen the videos of this thing landing on Mars, it's incredible. You should check it out. It's on YouTube. Just look for Perseverance rover landing, and it's really incredible because you actually get to see the rover land on Mars. You get to see the chutes go out. You get to see the crane drop the rover, and it's really incredible. Now, once the rover is there, well, it's going to do a few of the experiments that the previous rovers have done, but this rover is part of something called a and also retrieve mission, which means that it's going to search for things on Mars. It has a special drill that will drill into the surface of Mars. And instead of just a drill, it's kind of like a round drill that will take out an actual core of Mars. It's kind of like a round it'll basically take out a round rock, made by the drill, and it's going to store a bunch of them in places on Mars. Now, in the future, they'll send another rocket to Mars to retrieve those and take them back to Earth. And I'm not going to get into the complications of that because it's really complicated as how they're going to do that. But the other real cool thing about this mission is that if we send people to Mars in the future, we're going to have to learn how to use what's on Mars to move around and also to get us back to Earth. So there's another part of the rover called MOXIE. And what it's going to do is going to check the atmosphere, because the atmosphere of Mars is carbon dioxide. And it's going to see if they can turn that carbon dioxide or the parts of that carbon dioxide into oxygen that can be used for breathing, and also that can be used for making fuel to get from Mars. Now, the final thing that's really cool, and I'm waiting to see this to happen, is a helicopter called Ingenuity. And they're just seeing if they can actually fly a helicopter in the atmosphere of Mars to see if we can actually fly anything around on Mars. So those are the really cool things about this mission. And I hope you guys just go out and learn more about it.
Awesome, thank you. We did get one Mars question from that, which is, what will that rover be drilling into? What is Mars made out of? Is it rock?
So Mars is made out of rock, but there are some places that we've discovered that actually has frozen water. And this is one of the reasons where they landed Perseverance where it is right now, to drill into that rock and also to take a look at kind of like the sediments that might be in that frozen water and see what they can learn from it. And then one of the things they want to see, if this is one of the things they've always been trying to do, to see if there are the possibilities of past life on Mars. We know that there isn't any there right now that we found, but the possibility of past life on Mars, because we know that Mars had water in the past. So really cool things going on up there. The mission has just started, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot of cool things.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so are we ready to look at some more things in the sky? Someone mentioned Orion. So let's move the sky around back to the southwest. And what you can do to find Orion is pretty easy. You look for 3 stars very close together in a row. So the way the sky is set up right now, you should be able to see those. Oh, and let's get rid of this little thing right here. Thank you. Okay, so here are the 3 stars in a row. That is called the belt of Orion. Now, once you found the belt of Orion, you have 2 stars over his belt, going by the names of Betelgeuse and Bellatrix. Those are his shoulders. You have 2 stars beneath his belt, going by the names of Saiph, and of course, this one is already labeled Rigel, and those mark his legs. He has kind of a sword hanging from his belt. Let's see, he has a shield that he's holding up. He also has a sword that's kind of rising up right here. And if we kind of mark that star, and let's see if we can make him appear a little bit better. Here we go. Orion the Hunter. And if you were to picture him, he might look something like this. Okay, now I didn't mean for that other guy to come up, but since he's up, you might notice that that is a bull. That is another winter constellation that's pretty simple to find in the nighttime sky. Let me get rid of these stars, these things right here. And what you want to do is you want to look for Orion's belt. Then imagine drawing a line up. Let's see if you can still see it. A line up to this star right here. This star is called Aldebaran, and it's part of the face of Taurus the Bull. Now, Taurus the Bull is pretty easy to find because once you found the star, look for a letter V. And that red star is part of that letter V. So that's its V-shaped face right there. And if you extend each side of the V up, you come to the tip of one horn right there, go back down, go to the other side of the V, you come to the tip of another horn right there, and there you have the horn and face of Taurus the Bull. Now, Taurus the Bull is also the home of something else, and I'm going to see if I can get in a little bit closer. A little bit closer. Okay. And move things just a little bit around. So here's that V-shaped face, and just over Mars, you'll see this little group of stars right there. That little group of stars looks kind of like a Little Dipper, but that's not the Little Dipper. We'll take a look at that a little bit later on. But this is little group of stars. You can actually maybe make out 6 stars, 7 stars if you can see it really well. But this is actually a few dozen stars. And actually, well, that's what you would see in a pair of binoculars. In a telescope, you would see lots and lots of stars. But what we can also do, just like Mars, we can kind of like, let's take a close-up look at what that might be. So let's do that and go on close to that. And let's take a closer look. And this is what you get.
Oh, this so much there.
Yeah, this is a group of stars called the Pleiades. Now, the Pleiades is a cluster of stars that are really thousands of stars all packed together, and stars are born out of clouds of gas, and they stay together for a while, but eventually they drift away. But here with the Pleiades, you can see that these are fairly new stars, and you can still see some of the nebulosity around the stars. So there's radiation coming from the stars that's kind of blowing that nebulosity around away, because that's why you can't see lots of clouds around it. But basically what's happening is that the radiation from the star is blowing that cloud away, and eventually what will be left here is just stars, and these stars will also in the future perhaps drift away. But that is the Pleiades star cluster on the back of Taurus the Bull. Okay, so let's get back to our sky here. And before I get to any more questions?
Let's see what we have coming up here. Questions about, can we see the biggest constellation? Is that near our sky right now?
The biggest constellation? I'm
not sure what that would be.
Well, the biggest constellation is actually a dragon, and it's hard to see. It's hard to see in this part of the sky.
Not in our sky tonight.
Not in our sky tonight. But basically, it's long. It's not all packed together. It's long, and it's a faint group of stars, so it's going to be hard to see.
Great, thank you.
Let's see. So what else can you see in this part of the sky? Well, you can also find the brightest star in the sky. Go back to Orion and take a look at his belt. And this time, draw a line in the other direction down, and that line will point to this star right here called Sirius. Now, Sirius is the brightest star in the entire nighttime sky. No other star brighter than that star. And what I want to do is I'm going to give you a hint of who Sirius is. So, Sirius, you might well are well if you're Harry Potter fans out there, you might remember a character called Sirius Black. Now, here's a question for you: does anyone know what Sirius Black turns into? So I'll just let you guys sit with that and see if you have any answers for me.
All right, let's see if anybody's coming in. Sirius Black turns into a dog.
Yes, absolutely correct, Mundo. And guess what Sirius is part of? A constellation of a dog. This is called Canis Major, the large dog. Sirius marks the brightest star in Canis Major. And let's see if I can put the outline up for you. And there it is. So there's his tail, maybe his rear legs, maybe his front legs, and that's his front of the dog and head of the dog. Might look something like this if you use your imaginations. And there it is. Canis Major, the big dog. Now, we said Canis Major, the big dog, and that makes you wonder, you know, if there's a big dog, would there be a little dog? And the answer to that is yes. Because if you kind of look for the next, if you go counterclockwise or rather clockwise, so start here at start here at start here at Aldebaran, go down to Rigel, and just kind of make a curve or an arc of bright stars. You end up at Sirius at the bottom, and you find your next bright star, which is called Procyon. Now, Procyon is part of another constellation. It's called Canis Minor, the little dog. Now, let me connect the stars of the little dog for you. Here are the lines to the little dog. See that line? That's it. That's the little dog. 2 stars. No more. Now, I tell you what I see. I see a hot dog. Yeah. I'm thinking about food. But anyway, that is supposed to be the little dog that you're supposed to see in the nighttime sky. And let's see if I can put him up there. And there he is. Canis Minor, the little dog. So these are some of the brighter stars and constellations that you can see in the nighttime sky. And I like to do one more group of stars because it is part of the winter circle and you can still see them pretty easily. Let's get rid of the lines and the pictures. And if you kind of continue that circle around, so we started at Aldebaran, we went down to Rigel, went down to Sirius, we went up to Procyon. If you go up a little bit more, you'll find 2 stars looking almost the same brightness. They go by the names of Pollux and Castor, and these guys are the Gemini Twins. Now, how can you see twins there? Well, first of all, you can see that the stars look almost the same brightness, and then what you can look for is basically a line. And if you stop right here, you can see an arm, and then go back down here and you can make out 2 legs. So that's one brother. And if you go to the other head, go down a little bit, you can see another arm of the other brother. Go down a little bit more and you can see 2 more legs. They're kind of walking arm in arm across the sky. And if we could put a line around them, let's highlight this guy right here and show you what they look like. There they are, Gemini the Twins. And like I said, walking arm in arm. And here's what they might look like. So Gemini the Twins. So these are the brightest stars and constellations that you can see in the sky during this time of year. And I would encourage everyone to try to go and see these because they're pretty easy to see. If you're in the city, you need kind of like an open view of the sky where you can, no light shining in your eyes, maybe a rooftop or a big park with not a lot of lights and buildings around you. But yeah, most of these can be seen in the city as long as you don't have a lot of lights around you. Okay, now I did say I want to show you something else, and that something else is actually in the northern part of the sky because during this time of year, something else becomes visible. So let me show you that. And we're going to turn ourselves to the north. Hope you're not getting dizzy. Okay, now we're in the northern part of the sky. And let me ask if anyone sees anything familiar in this northern part of the sky.
All right, so anything familiar in the northern part of the sky?
I'll give you a hint. It's in the northeast, low in the sky.
Northeast, I see the moon, the dipper maybe?
If that's what people see, you are exactly correct because during this time of year, the Big Dipper is starting to move higher and higher in the sky. It's going to be spring soon, and this constellation is going to start moving higher and higher up. And yeah, here's the Big Dipper right here. The 3 stars in the handle, the 4 stars in the pot. And of course, the Big Dipper is not the actual name of the constellation. We can show you what it looks like. And there it is. And of course, you have other stuff connected to it because it's not actually a Big Dipper. That's kind of what we call it. That's kind of like an asterism to something that looks familiar to us. But the real name for it is Ursa Major, and it's the Great Bear. Ursa Major, the Great Bear. And if you picture them, might look something like this. And as you can see, there's something wrong with this bear. It has a long tail. And there are lots of stories about how the bear got its long tail. And one of them talks of a great Indian who caught the bear and in the food tent and started chasing the bear, grabbed the bear by the tail, spun him around and threw the bear up into the sky. And it's been there ever since. So that's just one of the stories. There are many of those stories about the bear. So that's the main thing I wanted to show you that's in the northern part of the sky. And I wanted to show you it now because it's beginning to get visible in the sky where you can actually really see it. It's not really low. Okay, I can see my time is getting low though. So any more questions?
We have a question maybe asking for a recommendation. Can we use just any telescope to see these stars? Do we need a telescope?
You don't need a telescope to see stars. What you need is a dark sky. That simple. You can't really see stars close up with the telescope. I mean, you can see things like you can see star clusters. You can see like the Pleiades cluster. There are many of those clusters around the sky that you can look at and you can see those close up with the telescope. And actually, if we go back to the south and we focus in here on Orion, one of the things that you'll be able to see through a telescope is something that looks like this. This is the Great Nebula in Orion, is kind of at the bottom of the tip of the sword I was talking about in Orion's constellation, the tip of the sword. And this is one of those nebulas that constellations are born out of. So this is one of the cool things. If it's hard to use the long telescopes with the big tubes called refractors. Those you can see planets and the moon like that through those. you really need something called a Newtonian reflector, which has folded optics and accept more light and has a better magnification. So telescopes, what you want to look for is something that accepts lots of light and has good magnification. And I hope that helps.
Right, thank you. Well, on that note of tools you can use from home, that actually helps me transition to our goodbye. So I think at this point, I'll invite Daryl to come back on screen if you like and say goodbye to our wonderful museum virtual visitors.
Well, I hope you had a good time. And I like to encourage everyone to go outside and see if you can find some of these things, because it's easy to do, it's fun to do, and by the way, folks, it's free to do. So have a good time.
Thank you so much, Daryl. It was wonderful touring the night sky with you. Really appreciate it. And for everybody else who joined us, thank you so much. Thank you for coming and asking wonderful questions and being amazing scientists. As Daryl said, we can get outside and we can try looking for those stars in the night sky. If, like me, you live really close to a city, there's a tool here called Stellarium. It's actually what Daryl was using during the presentation, and it's free. You can go to stellarium.org and check it out yourself and see some of the stars and constellations that we were looking at today. If you'd like to check out more of our virtual offerings, you can always visit us at mos.org/mosathome to find out what we're up to. And of course, if you enjoyed today's program, please consider supporting the museum so we can do more of it at engage.mos.org/welcome. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.